actually. Okay, good morning, everyone. Are we thawing out? Oh, we've gotten so weak over the years. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's 9 degrees out. It is winter, but, and as you all know, my partner lives in Fargo right now, and so it was minus 14 there with like a minus 23 wind chill this morning, so I had to feel good about our plus 9 walking over here, and I was like, I'm gonna drive, but then I thought, no, that's weak. I'm gonna walk. So anyway, hope you all are thawing out from the walk over. It has to happen at least for one of our staff meetings, right? Got to be there. So I am going to turn it over to Christina Mahoney. Thank you again for the Denver Art Museum for hosting us. And I promised last time I was going to come to the exhibit, and I did. I made it this last weekend, and I came and saw the exhibit. So it is a wonderful place, and we're thrilled that they can host us again. So, Christina.
Good morning. We're always so happy to have all of you here. And as Katie said, hopefully you're thawing out after the wintry walk over. Today I'm really excited to share about a couple community engagement programs that we have here at the Dam. I always like to share with you about programs that are new initiatives for us or kind of expanding initiatives for us to see if there are overlaps with the work that you're doing or alignment. So if you have any questions about any of these programs or want to reach out to me, please feel free to do so because I would love to chat with you more about some of these different offerings. So we'll start off with Family Arts Social. This event is really, I like to talk about it in the way of thinking about imagination, creativity, open-ended play. It's a family engagement night that we bring to schools, and it's about an hour-long program. This program, we bring all the materials, and basically we engage with families and teachers and administrators around creativity and creative play. So after dinner, we kind of launch into a series of creative challenges that allow families to connect and share this creative experience together. We also have a new program that's called Art Lives Here. This program partners with schools and soon-to-be community centers to bring objects off-site, and we were recently featured in a 9 News clip, so the guys in the booth are going to cue up a video for us now.
Well, taking a trip to the Denver Art Museum sounds typical for elementary school students, but what if they could take that trip without getting on a school bus? 9 News reporter Nelson Garcia shows us a program offered to schools at no cost by the Denver Art Museum called Art Lives Here.
So this is a great opportunity, right, to inspire us.
Of all the tools used to teach in the classroom of Eunice Lopez,
Thank you. Yes, Christopher.
perhaps the best ones right now are located right down the hall.
Right now we are heading to the exhibits.
The front of Hanson Elementary in Commerce City contains real pieces from the Denver Art Museum for students like Amarani
I
Vidana.
thought it was just a piece of art, but once I read all the information, it gave me more ideas.
It gives me the opportunity to be working closely with real artifacts.
This is part of the Art Lives Here program,
It's actually pretty creative because it has many things.
exposing kids to different forms of expression to teach them different things.
They were comparing, they were using everything, not only math, they were using adjectives, they were using complete sentences, I mean everything.
I think it's a better way because you imagine things better and have a better idea of what the story is about.
It's about the story of the artists.
Beautiful. Yes, Diego.
It's about helping them express their own stories.
What I was afraid of and still am afraid of is doctors and dentists.
This class is made up of English language learners.
We did something to earn the privilege of have something so expensive.
Lopez says it's helping them with their language skills.
I have many children who love art. And if students don't feel connected to what they're learning, they won't be able to learn.
A woman is weaving and it looks pretty creative.
Learning
This is a pretty cool pattern.
with a part of the museum
For me it looks like a vessel.
located right down the hall. In Commerce City, Nelson Garcia, 9 News.
So as the video talked about, we bring objects to live in schools and community centers for about 3 to 4 weeks with this kind of mini pop-up exhibition. With that, we have a number of resources and programs that we also work closely with the school or community center to decide. They specifically choose what they would like for us to be supporting them with so that it's really meeting their goals with the program. We have, as you can see here, online resources, but we also bring staff and bring out materials to support programming as well. In the development of this program, we worked with contemporary artist Melanie Yazzie to create some works inspired by these pieces to really give a contemporary lens on some historic as well as contemporary objects and bring in some of her own family heritage and history to kind of give a depth to the exhibition. Additionally, I just wanted to share our goals for this program. As you can see, there's enlivening curriculum, but also thinking a lot about the whole school community. So thinking about supporting families, thinking about aligning with school values and the goals that they have for the programs, thinking about empathy and perspective building. And as you can see, one of the principals that we worked with, one of the schools that we worked with, really talked about this broadening perspective and kind of opening students' eyes to diversity within their community as well as beyond their community. So finally, I just wanted to share with you the schools that we're currently working with, as well as the community centers that we're going to be launching with this summer. And we always want to share with you in case you want to share out with your networks. So I've put up here the email address, artliveshere@denverartmuseum.org. If you know anyone that's interested, we would love to talk further about the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Christina. That's a great program. Okay, what are we up to today? Let's see. All right. So first of all, Happy New Year. Bye-bye 2017, and 2018 we're looking ahead to. So first time I get to say Happy New Year to you all, and I'm excited about the year ahead and, you know, excited to move on from 2017. So I wanted to first just say thank you that for all the work you did in 2017 and beyond. I always take the time over the holiday season to do some reflecting and just sort of where have we been, where are we going, and I just thought a lot about how proud I am to work with you all and stand side by side with you all in doing some of the really important work of our state. And it's not always easy, and there's all these unique challenges that you're all navigating and that we're all navigating, and I'm just really proud to stand with you and work side by side with you. So thank you for all of the incredible work you did in 2017 and for the incredible work you will do in 2018. So as I was thinking about it and reflecting, you know, 2017, I think, was a challenging year, I think, for the world in some respects. And then everyone is sort of cascading down from that, a lot of different challenges. But, you know, you've heard my emails come across as the country has faced different challenges, you know, hurricanes and fires and shootings and all sorts of things that we're really grappling with as a country. The polarization is really forefront as well. But I was also struck by the resilience. And, you know, maybe this also has a little bit to do with thinking about Martin Luther King Jr. Day yesterday. But the resilience that we have as a country and as people, and that the challenges we go through make us stronger, and they help us raise these issues and figure out pathways through them. And so, you know, sometimes you may go into a lull and say, oh, we don't need to deal with those issues anymore. And then sometimes you have to be woken up to, oh yeah, this is a constant, you know, it's constant work that we do as a country, that we do as educators, to make sure that we're that we have empathy for each other, that we're trying to seek understanding, and that we're supporting each other no matter what happens. So this is just a slide that kind of talks about in 2018, I'm saying we need, let's work for more empathy, more support of one another, more understanding, more trust, more impact. And I know that we can do that, and we can keep building on those stepping stones that we've built. So I thought I would start with just some of my goals in addition to some of those values I just talked about. I like to think about, okay, where am I headed in 2018? Last year was the first full year that I completed as the commissioner. And so that was a huge learning curve year, right? And I actually have come to the conclusion that there will never not be a learning curve year. Every year is a learning curve. But I will say that the first full year in this role was a steep one for me. And so really wanted to look forward to say, just me personally, what are some of my goals moving forward as they relate to CDE? And so I thought I would share those with you, so indulge me. And the first one is continuing to put values to action throughout every part of the organization. So you've heard me talk a lot about my own personal values. Then we did some work around sort of putting all of our collective values on the table. But this is something, too, that sort of goes with that theme, that you can't ever just put something on the shelf and be like, oh, we're done with that. We finished that. It's an active part of what we do is living our values and reflecting on them. And so I really wanted to say from my perspective that that's going to continue to be a goal of mine in 2018, is really putting values into action. That is to continue to improve and build and have the strongest organizational culture that we can have, and highlight when that happens and encourage it and share it with others. So really trying to build that snowball effect of supporting one another, having empathy for one another, having empathy and understanding for our districts and our educators across the state, and having empathy and understanding for our policymakers and where they're coming from. We all look at the world and we all have a slightly different perspective, and so really acting on those values, no matter who you're working with, is really important. This is connected to that, but I always do one of the things I'm just interested in is organizational development work, and so I have these stacks of books and articles and all sorts of things, and I always bring them back out and refresh my memory on them, because as you grow and learn, you read different things that you may have read 20 times before in a slightly different way because you have a new perspective or you're in a new role. And so as I did that, I was just constantly reminded that the foundational element to everything we do is trust, and that work moves at the speed of trust. So that's internal to our organization, that's internal to our teams, that's internal to our organization when you're working with other units, that's with our Board of Education, that's with our legislators, that's with our governor, that's with our school districts, that's with our educators, is that work only moves at the speed of trust. So if there's not a lot of trust, then work is going to be slow and difficult and challenging. So how do we build that trust? And I'm going to think about this more around how we can have some professional development around this. But it's some of the things that just came to my mind is showing vulnerability. That is actually a huge tool to building trust, is not acting as if you have it all figured out or you have all of the answers, or if you're on a deadline that you can just, power through it, but that you actually show to your colleagues and your teams and to districts in some cases that we're all struggling through some things. There's challenges that we're all dealing with. making sure we follow through with our promises, and if we don't follow through because we have something else going on, to let folks know that. And that's when you would show that vulnerability, like, oh, I set this deadline, I said I would get to this to you by then, but this other really important thing came up and I had to reprioritize. This is a oldie but a goodie. Be careful with words. Be careful with words all the time, but be careful with words in email, especially. I think we can end up reading so much into emails that probably aren't necessarily there. So take that extra time to reread your email, think about what it sounds like from the other perspective, because sometimes trust can erode and we don't even know why. And it may have just been because of a quick fired off email that you read between the lines and see something different. Putting yourself in others' shoes and finding the truth in what everyone says. So this is something I've really been thinking about a lot. You know, it's around really, the most difficult thing is to practice what you preach when it's not easy, right? When there's folks that maybe challenge your values or challenge your perspective or challenge your way of doing things. And so really trying to see where is the truth in what that other person is saying. And this, I think, goes to the much bigger picture that we're dealing with around polarization, is that we've got to find ways to listen to each other, and we've got to find ways to understand where that perspective is coming from, even if we completely disagree with it. And so this continues to be one of my growth areas, and trying to sort of get out of our own bubbles and say, you know, whether that be internal, with your team, with politics, with your home, but really trying to understand where the other person is coming from and acknowledge where their truth is for them. So I think those are just some examples of how we can build trust. But I truly believe that is the foundation to having an awesome organizational culture, to doing great work, to delivering great support and services to our districts and our schools. And so I did want to spend a little time on that. So this is another one of sort of my particular goals around working the strategic plan and finding the sweet spot in it. So some of you have heard me say that. I don't like to do plans or work just for the sake of doing work, but I do want to find that sweet spot. So implementing the strategic plan is not another set of busy work for people or for units, but that we're trying to find where can we use that strategic plan as leverage to get more aligned with some of the core goals that we're trying to move. Not that we're not trying to move many, many other goals in your areas, but that if we can move some of those, the four, you know, kind of big ones that we've highlighted, you know, how can we each contribute to that in a small way to amplify what our effects could be? So to do that, I'm thinking we need to create some places to learn more about each other's work so that we can connect more on each other's work, and then we can leverage more everybody's work towards those goals. So the question I'll ask you all to think about is, like, how can we make slight changes or improvements in our own personal work plans or our own unit work plans to sort of impact those four goals that we'll review again here in a minute. But it's sort of, you know, a good example of this is some of the promising practices work that's going on with our communications team and Rosen and others, is to say, actually, let's organize all of our promising practices around highlighting the strategies that are directly related to those four goals. So again, not creating a whole new initiative, but tweaking it and aligning it a little bit so that it's then telling the story of progress towards those initiatives. And then this one is, you know, we've talked a little bit about this over the past couple months and years, but it is something that I think about as I think about my own professional learning and how I'm grateful when I get to go do some professional learning and I get to go step out of my detailed world and kind of get on the balcony and look from a broader perspective. I really want to make sure that we have opportunities like that for everyone, no matter what your growth is. And there's a million different ways for professional development, and I know our HR team are thinking about these things. But I do think connecting this professional learning to our organizational culture, our organizational effectiveness, and our strategic plan is a great goal to strive for. And then this is connected to the strategic plan as well, but finding ways to create collective impact and action. And this is how do we leverage all of our work, and how do we continue? It's one of the unending, challenges of every organization is silos, right? And that we all get so busy, and it's totally understandable. But how can we push ourselves to think more about collective action? And I also think about that in terms of with our districts too. How do we rally around them, and we work with our superintendents and our districts to create collective action. And I will just say on this one, around finding ways, one of the things I have to remind myself a lot of is sometimes we got to know where to get our wins, right? We won't get them all, and we don't have to, because there's a million different paths to get to an outcome. And it's thinking about where the right paths are at the right time to get to that outcome. So we obviously are in the policy world, but policy is just one way to get an outcome, right? And in fact, it's one of the most blunt instruments. So I continue to say, let's think about, our overarching goal of supporting students and making sure that they're college and career ready. And there's a lot of ways we can do that. And so continuing to find ways that we leverage that is critical, so that we can deliver impact for educators and students ultimately. So this is just nice. It should have snow on it, given the weekend. But I think for me, that kind of outlines sort of what some of my goals are for my path for this coming year. And we've started to outline our own path for the coming year with the strategic plan. And so this is just a reminder on all of the values that you all put forth in the last all-staff survey. We're actually should be getting the results of the next all-staff survey here in February from the state. But again, just something to ground ourselves in how do we sort of live these values and our behaviors every day. So, I had to come back to it. But our strategic plan. So, thank you all so much for all the work you've done in developing it, and participating in some of the open mics, on the buzz, in the survey. We did present it. I think I sent an email just after that. We presented it to the legislative committees, got some good feedback. I've presented it to a few other places like the Colorado Commission on Higher Education, and have gotten some good feedback. Again, it's not the end-all be-all of everything we do, but it is a structure and a plan that I think we can see ourselves in. So what do we want it to do? We want it to inspire teamwork. Let's just say I want it to inspire teamwork. I don't know if you guys do, but no. Teamwork, unity, and engagement in our mission. So again, making us, we're all one team, right? And we're all striving towards one thing. Whether you're in IMS or school finance or grants fiscal, you're actually supporting the foundational work of one team to support our educators across the state. We want to identify more places where we have that collective impact that I talked about. We want to create more opportunities for cross-unit collaboration so that we can drive more intensity on that collective impact. And we want to highlight and take action to support equity in underserved populations. And so again, that continues to be the one that we're still developing and working on, but it's an important one for me to think through. So to that end, if that's what we want it to do, these are just the 4 goals that, to refresh your memory, plus we have organizational excellence goals. One of the first steps we decided to do was say, let's actually focus on each one of these goals at each quarterly staff meeting. So today we're going to focus on the schools improving goal, the quality schools goal. And part of what we heard from you all in the survey is in order to be able to drive more collective impact, we have to know more about what each other are doing. So that's part of some of the great tools that our communications team has put together, the buzz, some of the speed dating work that we've done. But knowing where you can plug in and maybe where you can tweak your work plan a little bit to support some of these goals and efforts. So we're going to do that, first of all, is have each one of these all-staff meetings focused on one of those and go, we can't go super deep, but go a little deep in one of those. We're also going to, you're going to start seeing some communications out about finding a flexible but meaningful process for your units to find ways that you connect with the strategic plan. Some of your units have already been doing this, and then some probably will start to do this. How do we connect? And then continued to have a continued focus on values through recognition, professional development, and aligning some of our organizational structures. You're also going to hear a little bit about that later on in the staff meeting today. And then continuing to use some of the tools that we launched last year, but to deepen. So thinking about more of the speed dating work so that you can have ways to see what's going on across the department. More ways and enhanced use of the buzz to share work and share progress and share celebrations towards the planning process. So those are just some ideas, and just to kick us off, we're going to go into the quality schools one. And so I'm going to turn it over to Alyssa. So right there, we're starting right in the middle.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. So we're going to talk a little bit about goal number 2 this morning around schools improving. We have a goal that we want 80% of our schools that need support and academic improvement will raise and maintain that improved performance. To do that, we've really been focusing right now on the key initiative of quality schools, where we want to prioritize and maximize support for schools and districts identified with needs for improvement. So I want to give you a little bit of an update on some of the work that's been going on as we've jumped into working on these goals and key initiatives some more. But before we get in those details, I want to just take a moment to recognize some of the foundational work that's key to making any of this happen. Our standards team, assessment teams, accountability, and IMS teams work on making sure we have the foundation in place so that we know what the expectations are for students and performance for schools, that we can measure it, that we can determine if it's enough, and we can report that information out publicly. And without that work, we wouldn't know which schools we're trying to target. We wouldn't know where we want to put our resources. We wouldn't know who to learn from because we wouldn't be able to find those great examples. So I want to just take a moment and say a huge thank you to all those teams for making sure that we can get to the point where we can start getting to the support work. So thank you all for all that. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time digging deeper into our key initiative around school improvement. So these in the strategic plan, these are the 4 strategic activities that we listed. And we've been really digging into number 2 and number 3 recently. Number 2 is around working across CDE to leverage our expertise and resources to support our schools and districts. And number 3 is developing and promoting a single menu of CDE support so schools and districts know what kind of resources we have to offer and we can best match needs and resources together. This work isn't easy. I think you all know whenever you try and work across units, across teams, it's really, really challenging to do. And it takes a lot more time than just going out and doing something yourself. We know how hard that is to do. It also takes a lot of time building trust up across the department. So where it sounds real easy written down on the slide like this, we know what's behind it takes a lot more work and is a lot harder than just saying we'll do it. So this year, a cross-department team undertook a massive redesign of how we work to get our supports and resources out to schools and districts with a real goal of creating a larger impact for students. And this was called the EASY process. It's the ESSA application for school improvement. How many of you have seen an acronym within an acronym? I was pretty impressed with that alone. So what this did was really took 8 separate RFPs of grant process into one comprehensive application where we really focused on matching the needs of schools and districts that were identified in need of support under both ESSA and the state system, and matching those with some of the supports we have at CDE and some of the resources. The team was able to launch this application in October. And applications were reviewed over December and January. We're hoping to have final decisions this week. So it was this really fast, quick undertaking. We had 53% of districts with eligible schools apply this first year around. Our goal, our long-term goal is 80%, but it was kind of a really good start because we didn't have so much of the challenge of not having enough resources to match the needs where we're at right now. Last Monday, I was really lucky to get to be in the conversation with staff as they were working on one of the final reviews. And it was inspiring being into the room, watching the depth of conversation, talking about specific schools. We had staff from ESSU and the School and District Performance Unit sharing knowledge, federal programs and the UIP team, and having all those people in one room with the goal of figuring out what we most need to do for certain schools and districts. It was just incredible to watch. It's what we've been aiming for and talking about for a lot of years here, but to actually see it happen was just amazing. It made me really excited for where we can go next with that kind of grounding and that kind of leap forward that we've taken. We have a lot to learn from this first year. It was a great leap forward, but we have a lot further that we can go. We're going to start debriefing soon so we can start planning for improvements for next year. And we know that there's more to be done to pull in other units from CDE. We had a lot of people involved, but we know so many people in the department work on projects and grants that are really focused on these goals that we know we can pull people in even more and work towards a real single menu, even broader than the one we have right now. But just the leap forward that we took this year was huge. It took a lot of time, a lot of trust, a lot of extra work from a lot of staff, and it was a great step ahead. So I'm just tremendously grateful to all the staff involved and in awe what was able to be accomplished. At one point, I got a little nervous, and I'm like, oh, you guys, this isn't realistic. Like, let's just get the menu out. We'll do the menu, and if we can't do the combined application, it's okay. But they're like, nope, we got this. We're going to get this done. And it was amazing. It all came together in the end. So with everybody involved, you can see hopefully all of the units involved up there, but I probably forgot somebody, so I'm very, very sorry. But with everybody who's here, please stand up that was involved so we can embarrass you with a little round of applause. And I'll start calling names if I don't see you stand up. So thank you all so much. So as we begin to think about next year, if you see connections to your work and kind of this application being able to bring our resources together to match the needs of our schools and districts that have been identified for improvement, please reach out to us. We're starting to think about how do we grow this and where do we go next. You know, that cross-department collaboration takes a lot of time and energy, and it needed to kind of start where it started this year, but I think we'll be ready to make it a little bit bigger and broader as we go forward. So please let us know if you're interested and if you see a strong connection there. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to Lisa Medler now. She's going to talk a little bit about some more initiatives and work on in this key initiative, and we'll dive into that.
Hello, good morning. So I am Lisa Mudlar. I oversee the improvement planning office unit. I want to really emphasize that these are just a couple examples of some initiatives that within this particular goal. There's work being done in other units as well. So please don't think that this is it. Okay. I think part of why I was asked to talk probably was twofold. One was because we're actually asking you guys in the audience to participate in some of this. So it always helps to have a little bit of context. But then also, because of some of the emphasis that I think both Katie and Alyssa have already talked about, and the focus on the need for collaboration. So we have a history of collaborating in our unit. And so I want to talk about that a little bit as well. So the cynics may actually say, oh, you guys just are trying to pawn off your work on us. That's what collaboration really is, and that is really not the case. And I want to explain that a little bit more. If you are up to speed on your emails, you might have seen something that came out from me last week asking folks to volunteer to join us in the UIP reviews. So those are a review of the improvement plans from schools and districts. There's just under 200 that come in actually today, and we are tasked with reviewing and providing feedback to each of them within the next 6 weeks. Pretty mighty task. In order to do this effectively, we can't do this on our own. One, just the sheer volume of it, but I think more because the UIP team, we are generalists. Right? We are really good at explaining process, helping people identify their needs, and generally find their way on what to do next. But in order to really provide helpful feedback to them, we need your expertise. So Katie talked about silos and collaboration, and neither is bad. We need them both in different instances. This is one of those instances where we need you guys to be experts, really develop your silo, just open the door and then help us at around this time of year to then integrate your knowledge so that we're able to provide that feedback to schools in a really meaningful way. So that is happening now. If you didn't see the email, take a look at it. There's a really fun quiz to help you determine whether you would be a good reviewer. So I encourage you to do that just for a chuckle, if nothing else. But it's not too late. Let us know if you want to sign up. The other thing is we do offer trainings, and some of this is even if you are not wanting to be a reviewer, the trainings, like background on the accountability system and the UIP process, is not bad context. So you're welcome to attend those and not actually do the reviews as well. Okay, so that's what that is. If you're not, and just wish us luck to make it through the next few weeks. If you see somebody from the UIP team, just give them a pat on the back and tell them to get back to work. And then that next one is the Teaching and Learning Conditions Survey. So we're really excited about this. So for those of you that have been around for a while, you might be familiar with the TEL survey. That was what we used in the past. We have now transitioned to the Teaching and Learning Conditions Survey. So this is now Colorado built, Colorado owned. So we're really excited. It's certainly built on research and have been built on all the really good information that we collected through the TEL survey in the past. But this is something that goes out to all school-based teachers and principals, so all 60,000. And that will be opening up here next week. What we're doing is asking about how's it going? Do you actually have access to resources that you need? How is leadership in your building? What are your future employment plans? Really important things to know, and certainly at a state level. A lot of districts will do their own, but this is the one survey that extends across the entire state so that we can get some comparisons. So they can get comparisons, we can get comparisons as well. Really important for their own improvement efforts. And so here comes the part where I need you guys again, and that is help us get the word out. 60,000 folks, we really want them all to seriously consider whether they want to take the 15 minutes it takes to complete the survey. It's really hard to do that unless they know about it and actually hear, no, this is a legit thing. You will get this data back if enough of your own staff in your school participate. the governor wants you to participate. The State Department wants you to participate. Your school should as well. You need that data back, and we all do in order to improve. So you will be seeing another email from me with some speaking points, maybe some ready-made slides that you can just slip right into any trainings or communications that you're doing as well. So please take a moment to open that up and take a look at it, and please encourage anyone. This is, if you have a neighbor who's a teacher, that's great too. If you're out in the field in your CDE capacity, please just help us get the word out, okay? Okay, and here's another really exciting tool. So we just couldn't pass up another opportunity to let you guys know about this, the dish. Okay, show of hands, because I can actually see you, who actually knows what the dish is and has used it. Oh my gosh. Okay, so for the next staff meeting, I'm going to challenge you. Katie, help me follow up on this. I want everyone to be able to raise their hand, because this is a fabulous tool. This is based on a partnership between accountability, improvement planning, IMS, all sorts of folks, but this really came from a request from the field. We use it extensively in the improvement planning process, but this is where a lot of data gets compiled that the state has access to in one place. It's done in Tableau, so there's some visualizations. When schools see this, they just about melt because they're so happy, because it really helps them make sense of the data. So if you need information about a particular school or a district, this is the place to go. At least it's a good starting place. There's so much data available on the CDE website, but this is a fabulous place to start. So we wanted you guys to be aware of it. There's some tabs in those bullets there. Take a moment, take a look at it. It's pretty cool, especially if you ever interact with schools and districts, which working at CDE, probably a lot of you do. And if not, then you at least know somebody who does, so it's worth taking a look at. So a big thank you to all these folks. Again, wanting to acknowledge that in order to pull off some of these amazing things, it really does take a team, and often not just one office. So a huge thanks to everyone. This was a major lift today. We had a couple hiccups, but darn it, we got through it. It's up. Districts love it. We get great feedback about this all the time. So so kudos to everyone involved in this process. Okay, so I think that sums up at least our update on this particular goal. There is now a video on some best practices for around Stuckey Elementary. Is that correct? And somehow I know how to turn this on? I think they'll do it. Okay, somebody's going to magically make this go. Perfect.
Stuckey is a transformed building, and I would say the biggest transformation is that the staff owns the work.
Now put it together.
We're all in this together.
Stuckey Elementary is located in North Glen, Colorado. It's a very small neighborhood school, one of the first elementary schools in our district.
Stuckey Elementary applied for the network and was accepted because they were a school that was persistently low performing and students were not meeting their academic potential. The Turnaround Network is a support structure where Colorado Department of Education and district leaders and school leaders work together in partnership to support some of our lowest performing schools.
And then we'll be able to immediately apply that. The work is worth it. Sure. It's definitely worth it. And if you have the opportunity to be part of the Turnaround Network, it is absolutely worth it.
We go through a diagnostic experience where we visit the school and we look at the systems at the school and some of the conditions around school culture, around academics, and around talent, and around leadership.
We really spent a lot of time focusing on student data. We've implemented weekly data meetings. Conversations are focused on aligning standards to assessments to student work. So the questions are more intentional. It's not something that's done to teachers, it's something that's done with teachers with the purpose of improving student achievement.
We've been able to find avenues where we were deficient as a district and as individual schools, and we've been able to strengthen and fortify those. So it's been a great process all the way around.
I can proudly say that we went from priority improvement to performance, so we're quite proud of that work. I think the joy in watching teachers and students recognize the achievement. Yes, a performance rating is something to be proud of, but it's really about the students and the successes that we're seeing with them each day.
Every one of them is going to go out into the world reading and writing and thinking, which is what we want for all of them.
Let's give them a round of applause. So those are that's a snippet, and the video kind of encapsulates it all. But in terms of our goal of helping schools improve their quality and support of students, you just heard a whole series of strategies and activities that come together to support that. So we could have spent an hour or more, a whole day on all of that work, but that was just a snippet to kind of dive into one of our goals. So now we're just going to do a couple other sort of important updates for you all to think about. And so I'm going to introduce Floyd Cobb. I don't know if all of you know Floyd yet, but Floyd is our Executive Director of the Teaching and Learning Unit, and he's going to give us some updates.
Oh, a lot of people here. Good morning, everybody. Again, I'm Floyd Cobb, the new Executive Director of Teaching and Learning, and I'm here to give you, let me see if I make sure I have this clicker correct. Right, left?
I think the big arrow in the middle.
Big arrow in the middle. Boom, there we go. All right, here to give you just a few updates. Originally, Carol Gates, our Director of Standards and Instructional Support, was slated to do this part of the presentation, but fell under the weather a little bit this morning, so I am pinch hitting for her. So just a quick update on our standards review and revision process. First and foremost, I want to just give a shout out and a huge thank you to everyone in the Standards and Instructional Support Office. This has been a huge lift in terms of trying to get this big project done. We have had a total of 12 committees and 178 members in those committees to help get us through this process of revising all of our state standards. So this is inclusive of PE, health, dance, drama and theater arts, English language proficiency, mathematics, music, reading, writing, and communicating, science, social studies, and visual arts. And this has been a process in terms of the committees that's gone on since August of 2017. In addition to that, we also have a process, or had a process rather, that was one committee for our computer science standards. And this has been new, and it's one committee that's of 9 members, and actually consisted of higher education, community members, and business sectors have been working to develop these voluntary standards for our schools to use. So in addition to the content standards, we also have our computer science standards, which are newly developed. What's been important in this process is really trying to make sure that we have got a lot of feedback. And so there have been 2 public feedback windows. One was offered at the onset, and the other was at the midpoint. And as you can see, throughout the entire process, we've had over 3,500 users, garnered 27,000 comments on the standards. And so in looking at this, these comments can be offered at a very granular level at each of the standards levels. So, and this has happened in addition to emails, letters, and focus group feedback that we've also had an opportunity to be a part of. So the public has been very involved in the process and has given us a lot of feedback and ideas in terms of the information that will be presented to the board. And so the committees are in the process now of reviewing that feedback. They met, I believe, last week, and will continue to meet in February to offer additional feedback to kind of finalize those recommendations. And so for those who happen to tune into the video on the state board or happen to walk in, you will probably see Melissa and I quite a bit sitting up front, conversing with the board and presenting the information to them so that they can make these final approvals. And so what you'll find is, we have to get all this done by June. Wanted to make sure I cleared that up. What you'll find is that most of these areas will consist of some really kind of small refinements to language. This is a revision. It's not an overhaul. It's not a big, massive change. However, where we are with science is in a slightly different place relative to the other content areas. Through the work of the science committees, as well as some of the recommendations that we received from the field, they have recommended a bigger change, more of an adaptation to incorporate the next generation science standards into the Colorado academic standards, which is a little bit different. And so last week we had the opportunity to explain relaying a little bit of that information to the state board, and we'll continue to gather feedback and additional information. And so you may hear some additional pieces out there in terms of science related to the next generation science standards and how much gets incorporated, and how those will be tweaked and changed. But where we are right now in terms of their recommendation is that's where we are. So as we continue to move forward through the spring, the way the process will happen is we will present information to the state board on an information item starting in April, and then from there give them an opportunity to vote the following month. And so there will be an information item and a voting item, an information item and a voting item, again with the intention of trying to make sure that we can complete this process by June. So that's the goal. And then with that, there was one additional update that I wanted to give, which was our work in terms of our newly and temporarily named P3 office. We have worked hard over the past couple of months to be a better support to the field, and as a result of that, we've reorganized and combined the Office of Early Learning and School Readiness as well as the Office of Literacy to fall under one director, which is our P3 office. And so you can see on the screen, we will have our new P3 director who'll be coming here from Alaska. I sent out an email last week or 2 weeks ago, Angie Gianos, and we're really, really, really excited to have her. I had an opportunity to speak with her this morning, and she's already bought a house, and is super, she's like all over it right now to move. When I spoke with her, she said it was 50 degrees in Alaska. And I said, "Are you sure you want to move to a place where it's 6?" She still agreed, which is a good thing. And so really, again, the goal is of this work is really to increase the capacity of our customers and to be able to implement our P3 initiative so that we can continue to focus and meet the needs of our youngest learners. And so anytime we engage in this type of work, it is challenging and exhausting in a big lift. So I do want to say thank you to all of those of you who have been a part of this process and have engaged in the work, because it is exhausting, but we know it's the right thing to do. And so we've been really, really excited to kind of get this step going, and looking forward to having her here. And so with Angie moving from Alaska, she's got a little bit of a lag time that she'll be here. So she will be starting on a part-time basis. So you will kind of perhaps see emails or have her on an email list thus far. So she may not be here physically, but she's getting the process and getting things moving. So that are the updates from the teaching and learning unit. And I wanted to make sure, if you saw at the top, again, trying to make sure that we continue to make sure that things continue to be in alignment with the strategic plan, that the work around P3 has really been focused on trying to make sure that we can create greater alignment in terms of the goal around strong foundations. So, and with that, I think that's my time for the updates, and I'll transition back over to Katie.
Thank you. I thought you guys were sick of hearing from me the last couple of all-staff meetings, so now we're changing it all up. So, but I get to do the fun thing of legislative reminders. So, woohoo! We are back in the legislative session. The legislative session started last week, last Wednesday? Yeah. It seems like it's already been a long time. So one week is like a year. It's like dog years. So just a couple friendly reminders. You hear this a lot, but we are in the fiscal note season now, and there she is, Melissa Bloom, is along with Jeff Blanford and some of our finance unit help us coordinate that whole work. And so Melissa Bloom is the person that gets to send out all of those emails. She's your favorite person or not your favorite person, depending on what that email says. Either the meeting is canceled and everybody's like, woohoo, I love Melissa. Or no, we have to have the 4:30 meeting or 4 o'clock meeting. When is it? So I don't. 3 o'clock. See, I knew I'm already messing things up. No, but Melissa does a great job of herding all of us cats on this. So if you are connected to needing to participate in a fiscal note, you should check with your supervisor or cabinet member. We think we have the updated list of people who need to be involved, but if there are others that need to be involved, what we try to do each day is send out an email to units that are connected to whatever new bill comes across our desk. We have a meeting where we touch base, figure out where the coordination needs to happen, and what some of the assumptions are for the cost of that bill. So there are going to be a lot of notes coming in, fiscal notes coming in January and February. Those daily meetings are really important. There's usually a call-in option to make sure we're all on the same page. Mostly the biggest theme for the legislative session is to make sure we're all on the same page, because if different folks are talking to different people with different assumptions about the same bill, that doesn't make us look good. So we want to make sure that we're coordinated on that front, and that our legislative liaison, Jennifer Mello, is up to speed and up to date on any conversation you have with a legislator, because it's really awkward for her when she's over at the Capitol and somebody says, oh, hey, I just talked to so-and-so about this, and she's like, what? I don't know what you're talking about. So as always, make sure anytime a legislator connects with you that you immediately loop in Jennifer Mello and your cabinet member, so that we are knowing where all of these conversations are, because it really is important for us to be on the same page. And then a couple other things. We are starting to document what is affectionately called, or not so affectionately called, absorbable workload. So again, we have to find a real balance around, you can't just ask for money constantly about every single new policy that comes into place. So we are careful and judicious and honest about what's going to cost us money. But sometimes we have to absorb workload that we don't get to ask for money for. But we at least want to start documenting that so we can see how the absorbable workload starts to add up, right? And so the only way we can get better and more accurate at providing fiscal notes is if we start to see where that absorbable workload, starts to build up. And so that is a new piece this year, that we're documenting it, even if you're not officially asking, for a dollar amount on the fiscal note. We're documenting that it is actually additional work, and this is what that looks like. So Melissa Bloom and others can help with those details moving forward. So just legislative reminders, and these are probably even more important given the election season. We have a lot of our legislators that are doing double duty, right? They're serving in the legislature right now, but they're also running for a different office. So this can complicate the legislative session even more so, because you've got all of these politics running in addition to the work of the current session. So just reminders. We are sort of the neutral, trusted body that provides information and facts. And again, this is why it's important that we loop in, Jennifer Mello and others to make sure that we are giving the same version of the facts, right? Not because people are giving incorrect information, but because we see it from different perspectives. And so we want to make sure that we're giving a clear, comprehensive, one set answer to our legislators, so that they're not getting like some information over here and some over here and some over here. And even though those all might be correct, it's hard for them to sort through it, right? So this is one of our jobs as a service agency and as a state department, is that we, they are part of our customers and our clients too. So that's important, that we have, give fair and balanced information. I also just want to say, again, keep us in the loop. It's helpful to keep me in the loop, executive team members in the loop, because again, we're running into these people all the time. It's good to know where all the conversations are going. I also want to talk about our role in sort of respect to the State Board of Education. We, as CDE, do not take positions on legislation. So if you have a personal relationship with a legislator or something, or you run into them and you're talking to them and they say, hey, what do you think about this bill? Really, as a CDE staff person, we don't have a position on it. There's a formal process that our board goes through each week to determine whether they are going to take a position on a bill. And that's really only that's our cue to whether we are anything but neutral, okay, or provide facts or information. So our board decides, they look at the slate of bills coming in, and there's a process and a separate meeting process that we're starting up where they will determine whether they support, oppose, or monitor a piece of legislation. And for all intents and purposes, that's our position as well. So that's an important piece to remember. And then again, so we, in some cases, will be asked to provide testimony, those sorts of things. Those really we need to take on a case-by-case basis. It's all related to where the board's position is. It's all related to what particular questions it is or what the testimony is about, if it's providing sort of facts and information and data, or if it's, some other piece. And so we need to make sure we're coordinating on any of those asks or requests that you're getting. So again, most important thing is to loop in your cabinet member, your exec team member, and Jennifer Mello, and then we'll organize that around how we respond to make sure we're being consistent. Just on the other side here, in terms of the political activity, so it is an absolute no-no to participate in any political activity while on duty. That includes social media, work time. Even if you brought your own computer and you do something on social media, if you're on work time, then that's not appropriate. So obviously, in an election season, you have the ability as your own private citizen to do things that you want to do. You need to do that completely on your own time, completely with your own equipment, and separate from the work. We know that gets tricky with social media now, so you need to use good judgment on social media. And if your social media is just totally your own personal account versus if you start to integrate that with work, that can get very tricky. So I would, when in doubt, ask. When in doubt, you can ask Dana Smith. Sorry, Dana. She's like, uh-oh. But it is important to consider during this challenging session with all of these other political races going. So. Okay, with that, we're going to do, people are dropping like flies in terms of being sick. So Sue is feeling under the weather, so Jennifer Oakes is going to give our human resources update.
Thank you. Yes, Susan is very, she's unable to be here, and so wanted to give you all her condolences for not being able to be here with you, because she was really looking forward to it. She's really excited. She's been with us for 5 months now, and she's done a lot of great stuff to start us on some of the strategic tasks associated with implementing some new changes with our HR system. So, oops, wrong way. So, as you know, we can't do any of this great work of the strategic plan without all of you. And to do that, we need a really high quality, effective HR unit. And so she's working on that. So the goal of that unit is to be really customer based and be there for all of you. This is a resource, an advisory resource for all of you, not just supervisors and managers. It's for every single employee. So you should feel free to reach out to HR if you have any questions or concerns at all, because we're all interconnected and they can make us be more effective. And so As you know, that there's been a lot of effort on looking at our classified versus at-will employment over the past several months, and we kind of got that big project done, but there's a lot of other projects going underway. So we're looking at the part-time staff and looking at that definition of that, as well as benefits eligibility for part-time staff who are eligible for that. So that's changes are being made currently. Policies and procedures. We really want to make sure that our policies are consistent and are fairly implemented for all employees. And also, we're working statewide with HR Works. That's the new HR system that will be integrated with the core system that went in place a couple of years ago. So most of this will be back end and won't affect any of you directly, but it will improve our time reporting process. So we will get out of sort of the dark ages with our printed time and effort reports and get that into a much more automated and hopefully better system, easier to implement, and then also get you better information so you have leave balances and so forth on an ongoing basis. So looking forward to that. But as with any big statewide implementation, there'll probably be a couple bumps along the way, but we're hoping that in the end it'll be much more modern and easier way to do our time and effort reporting. So more information as that unfolds. There's also, we're going to be doing a lot with some trainings related to safety, culture, managerial trainings, all of those things that Katie talked about, getting that culture and integrating that so that we're more effective in implementing that culture throughout the organization. So look forward to some great trainings and learning opportunities coming forward. Also promoting that values-based culture. So a lot of stuff to be coming, so looking forward to that in the next weeks and months ahead. Mm-hmm.
Yes, so thank you to our HR team. I think Janet and Kay might be here somewhere, but I'm blinded, so I can't see where. But really appreciate all the work they're all doing. That at-will classified thing that really was raised by our Joint Budget Committee, it's really been an onion then that we've started to peel back. And it's given us the opportunity, right, to look at all of these processes and procedures and making sure we're doing it to the highest quality, consistent and fair across our department. So I really appreciate all the work that whole team is doing. I will just make a plug. You see that I am wearing my badge. In terms of the safety piece, we know that we've had some scares recently. That has also given us the opportunity to look at our policies and our procedures around safety. I think we do a decent job of doing fire drill training, but sadly, in this day and age, we're going to need to do some new types of training as well. So I think we all did very well for the unfortunate situation that we had with the active shooter. But there is more that we can be doing. There's more. We need to be prepared for that. We need to have team members who are prepared for that. We need to increase our security and our support on our, really in our whole building, but on our first floor especially. That's important to me. And one of those things that I was realizing in the moment when I called the security guard and said, lock the building down is, and I basically had to say, don't let anybody in without a badge, right? So we really need to get better. I'm the worst culprit at it, of having your badge on you, because you never know when a situation like that is going to happen. So really try to redouble your efforts in having your badge on you, having it in your pocket, whatever you need to do. But I do think that that's one of the only ways we have to identify. And when you have a 600-person staff, our security guard doesn't know every single one of you. So unfortunately, we need to redouble our efforts there. So you rock. I just want to, this is the kudos section of our meeting. And I know you guys have all been wanting so much to have another acronym. And so this is the part of our meeting where we're going to give props to those folks who are rocking our strategic plan and coming back to what I said earlier about providing recognition and support and examples and promising practices of where we're really doing well, where we're really seeing progress. So props, I should see if any of you can guess. What do you guys think it means? No. Okay, here's some, strategy, okay. Peers rocking our plan successfully. Woohoo! Yes! Now, if you can think of a better name for this, it was a quick acronym. We're like, we are open to feedback on it. So if you can think of a better acronym that means something, that says something, hey, send it our way. Send it to the communications team. I just keep passing it to you, Dana. So, but I do just want to give a few kudos to folks that have just great examples. And I know, again, send me the props you have too, so that we can make sure we're highlighting these across the department and on the buzz and many of the ways we have. But I want to give a shout out to Dropout Prevention and Student Reengagement Office, who delivered boxes and boxes of personal care items and warm weather gear for homeless youth to Urban Peak and other service locations around Metro. So thank you, all of you, for donating. And for the team to organize that and deliver that. I think that's a great expression of our values. You heard already about the EASY application from the team that put that together, and that huge lift in totally redesigning a process that really exemplified the collaboration and the trust needed to push an element of our strategic plan forward. So another round of applause for them. We did something new this year with the Angel Tree, and Jane helped to organize that whole work. We had the Angel Tree over the holiday season and really blew our goals through the roof there, and providing lots of gifts and supports for needy families. Were all delivered to the Salvation Army, truckloads of gifts that Jane and others of you had to load for, it seemed like, hours on end. So that was a great expression. I also want to thank our IMS data security team. There's a lot that goes on behind the scenes that you don't always realize. And I was alerted to a major financial cybersecurity attack that they prevented. So again, you never hear about it because they prevented it. But it was a really big deal, and it made sure all of our systems continued to be safe, secure, and supporting all of your work and being able to access your files and your computer system. So thank you to the IMS Data Security team. Can't see them. And then we have one more award that I'm getting two helpers with. So Michelle and Megan coming up here.
Thank you, Katie.
Yes.
Jane, can you join us up here, please?
I had to keep it secret.
Come on, Jane. What did I say? I don't deal well with this kind of stuff. And if we could have all of the members of the ASN please stand.
Oh, come on. Surely there's a few of you guys out there. Hooray to you guys. Oh, my gosh.
On behalf of the Administrative Support Network, ASN, we just wanted to say thank you to Jane for everything you do for us, for everything you do for CDE, and we really, really appreciate you.
Yes. Gosh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Explain what's happening.
We got her a plant, but it was really big, and we can't bring it here, so this is a picture of what's waiting at your desk.
That's beautiful. Thank you. Wow.
And
Thank
a
you,
lovely
Katie.
little plaque here for you, just
Oh my
with
gosh.
a message of thank you from all of us, because in so many ways you bring us all together, and support and sounding board and all that good stuff. So
Well,
we appreciate you.
thank you so much. And Thank you. I mean, the ASN group, you guys are awesome. And, you know, I think that most of CDE knows CDE would not operate without this incredibly wonderful, talented group of people that give so much, and they really do ask so little, just a little bit of respect and to feel valued. And I'm proud of all of you guys. So thank you so much for this. Thank you. Man, I'm blown away. Let me see this. Thank
It's
you.
yours. You got it.
That's beautiful.
I know.
Let us know if you need help here.
Awesome. Yes, but another great example of cross-unit collaboration, bringing folks together, taking the initiative to see that there was a gap somewhere, taking the initiative to build a whole other team that has been incredibly successful. So again, props to you for doing that. So Jennifer is going to help us with our service awards. And so we will start with our 5 years.
Okay, and we have 15 people that we want to highlight today, and we're going to do things a little bit different today to keep things moving along. We're just going to really introduce these people. Come on down, and so we can give you your service awards, but then there's great details that we're not going to read today, but they'll be on the buzz. So go onto the buzz later today and read all of the amazing details about these great people. So we'll kick it off with our 5 years. So we got 11 people with 5 years of service awards. So let's start with Ashley Moen. She has oversees the summer food service program in the Office of School Nutrition since October of 2012. Is Ashley here?
Ashley here, are you hiding back there in the dark?
Okay. Heather Hodgkiss. So she's the traumatic brain injury and fetal alcohol syndrome disorder consultant in ESSU, and she's also been here for 5 years with us.
You know, Heather, these people didn't want to brave the cold?
Peg McMillan. She applies her charter school expertise as a member of the Schools of Choice unit.
Okay, you're making me feel lonely up here.
Tara Rhodes. She joined CDE last year. Yay. As the early learning business analyst in the P3 office after many years of prior experience in state government.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate it.
Kathleen.
Sorry, I misunderstood the memo.
So Kathleen Keelan is a training and support consultant for the Office of Dropout Prevention and Student Reengagement. Josh Jones, he joined the Office of Capital Construction in March of 2017 as a regional facility assessor. And prior to that, he was with several years with Trinidad State Junior College. Kirsten Carlisle. She worked at CDOT initially before joining CDE in 2014, where she's the ESEA program specialist within federal programs. And Jessica Watson, she's an integral part of the accountability and data analysis team. Tammy Yetter is currently the Senior Literacy Consultant in the Office of Literacy. Sarah Matthew is the Director of Health and Wellness and has been with us for 5 years. And finally, Jennifer Simons is transitioning today, previously with Federal Programs Unit, and she will be joining the Educator Talent Division. Okay. So moving on to 10 years, we have one person, Megan Meermans, with 10 years. She is a fiscal analyst in the Office of Grants Fiscal Management supporting school nutrition programs. 15 years, we have two folks. First, Amy Zimmer. She started in 2002. She's a valued member of the State Publications Library team. And Mario Rivera. He also started in 2002, and he is a program evaluator focusing on Project Aware and School Health Professionals Grant. And 20 years. So Cynthia Bruner, she's 20 years with IMS, and she's currently the Applications Development Manager. So thanks to everyone. Congratulations.
Okay, what are we at now? Oh my gosh, look, now we're early. That's amazing. You just got 10 minutes back of your time. Thank you all. Let's make 2018 an awesome year. Thank you for all the work you do, and stay warm walking back. Don't slip.